Hi, everybody. Oh, this is so great. I'm here with a very good friend of mine. I've been hoping to get her on for a long time, Meryl. I can see you too. Hi. Lovely to see
Oh,
you.
hello. Lovely to
Yeah.
see you, Kit Marie. Honestly, real honour to be invited. I've been looking and watching, listening to Geo Ramblings for quite some time. So to be here and on video,
Yay.
very, very privileged. Thank you.
This is it. Yeah. And the thing is as well, folks, is that with the exception of one-off special episode last season where I spoke to Will Duffy for the final experiment, which is happening right now, which I'll come to because that's a time stamping this video. Is that you're the first guest actually to be videoed and audio. So, folks, I'm going to do my absolute very best because I know the vast majority of you don't get the time to sit down and watch YouTube or anything like that. You listen to this on the commute in the car or something like that. So we'll try to make sure we're doing that, putting our radio faces on as well as our faces.
I love to talk. So that it doesn't really matter whether you can see me or not.
So, folks, to introduce the wonderful Meryl Batchelder. So, Meryl is an environmental education consultant and the Northeast Regional Coordinator for the Ministry of Eco Education. And after a degree in geology and a PhD in environmental science, she gained 15 years of experience as a secondary science teacher before recently leaving the chalkface to focus on developing climate and sustainability initiatives in education. So, you just got 2 years on me because I did 13 years as a high school teacher. But we're roughly similar. She regularly writes or blogs about climate education and is a climate ambassador, which is why you're here for the DFE funded scheme, which is hosted by the STEM Learning Platform. So so it's quite amazing, really. I mean, we've been in contact and remotely, of vast majority of time, doing things.
Yep,
but
must be at least
and then
5 years I've known you.
If not slightly longer, and it's interesting, isn't it? And then I find out, then I get this job as one of the regional ambassadors for regional managers as climate ambassadors, and I'm like, if Meryl doesn't become a climate ambassador, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna throw my toys out of the plan. And then lo and behold, like before, like you already were there. Like by the time I got in touch, I said, "Daryl, have you heard this?" You're like, "Yeah, I'm kind of already on the ball with this up here in the northeast."
Yeah. I am in the northeast. The climate ambassadors are based at Newcastle University, and so I knew that before they even advertised that they were going to be hosting it, and they were looking for a project manager. And I knew a woman called Elle Young, and she'd already worked on joint projects with me, and I was like, they have to take Elle. So I made sure I dropped her name in conversation a couple of times. Anyway, so I'm totally thrilled that Elle Young is our regional coordinator, because I
know.
She just is so energetic, driven, and so as soon as she was there, I was just like, right, put me down. Where's the form? And so yes, I am a climate ambassador, one of the first in the northeast, and have already been doing my thing.
Yeah, you have, and folks, if Elle Young is a name that's new to you, because the end of last season, as you may recall, I interviewed as many of the climate ambassador regional hubs or leads as I possibly could, and we interviewed from Newcastle University Stephen Blenkinsop, because at that time the Northeast, Newcastle University, didn't yet have a regional hub manager in place. So I interviewed Stephen as the regional lead as they were putting out the call for a regional hub. And it wasn't until after we recorded those episodes and published them that Elle then was appointed as the regional hub manager. So, folks, I am planning. I've said to her, I said it's part of the job description that I am going to get her on the podcast for this season.
Oh, and she'll be fabulous.
She is amazing.
Fabulous.
She's a wonderful colleague. I'm so proud for her to be one of all my colleagues. Regional hub managers are amazing. And at the beginning of this month of recording, December, we were all at Keele University, all of us regional hub managers in person, and Elle gives wonderful hugs.
There was a very, very small part of me that was like, should I apply for that job? And partly I knew that she would be far better than me, and partly I've got so many other things going on. I wouldn't have been able to give it all of that, because I've got experience as a project manager. I know about climate education. I possibly could have done a good job. I don't know, but I'm pleased that she's there and I'm doing my own thing, because I'm probably a really difficult person to manage.
Just because you're so passionate. You're like me. It's like hot potato, but no one likes a cold potato. So
definitely.
So let's do it. Let's do the tradition of coffee and geography. So I had not long finished a cup of tea, so I've shifted onto water. But what's your usual tipple if you come to the coffee house?
So I have a coffee or so every morning, just one, and then I'll have a cup of tea in the afternoon. So you're in between phases because I've already had my coffee. So I'm actually on lemon and ginger, and
Ooh,
it's because it's a really good immune booster. It's detoxifying, it's anti-inflammatory, and what I'm really enjoying, I'm at the first. This is the first year I've not been teaching, and it's the first winter term that I've got to the end of. And I've literally, I'd have been drinking this as a teacher because I was just trying to get through to the end of the
yes,
year and
yes.
nurse my cold and flu symptoms. Well, now I'm actually just drinking it because it tastes nice. So yes, coffee and ginger. Lemon and ginger.
That'd be interesting. Well, you can.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did try a gingerbread coffee not too long
Mm,
ago, and that was not too bad.
mm.
But yeah, lemon and ginger's got to be done. I mean, we were talking about this one we just before we were recording. That I do remember, like as a teacher, like you'd be running on so much adrenaline, and you'll be working like
Oh,
so
the winter.
many like intensively for that first
Yeah.
term, September to, and then you
Yeah,
get to the
yeah,
first
8
half
weeks and then
term,
7 weeks, yeah. The
yeah, and
October
then you
half
get
term.
October half term, you're like, you get home, you're like, right, I can enjoy the half term now. But of course, because you've been running on nothing but adrenaline and stress for like the last 8 weeks, like everything that was trying to attack your body, the school made you in
Oh,
contact with, the kids made you
la
in contact with, all the stress, suddenly it just flushes into your system, doesn't it? And it's
yeah,
like,
last year, I literally got whooping cough from one of the kids. Bless them, they didn't mean to give it to me,
goodness
but
me.
whooping cough. I was in such a state by last Christmas, I really don't remember much
Uh,
of it. I was living through a trance of coughing and just trying to recover. Yeah, I've been ill before. One of the reasons I went part-time teaching was because I had cancer 9 years ago
that's
nearly.
right. Yeah.
And the fact that I'm still here today is just amazing, and I'm hugely grateful to the NHS for keeping me going. But so I don't think my immune system's particularly weak. I think there's just so many bugs, and possibly post COVID it's got worse. I definitely seem to have
Yeah.
seen in schools that there's more sickness going around. I think we probably affected our long term immune systems or whatever. But yeah, not to feel ill for Christmas. That's like a miracle. It's a
Yeah.
Christmas miracle,
Yeah.
Kit Marie.
It
So
certainly is. Although I did feel I did feel under the weather the last few days. Kind of, I would say it was a bit of a bit of a kind of, yeah, it was analogous to kind of like being sick from being a teacher because so
lemon and
we're
ginger
at
tea,
time of recording gonna get.
lemon and
I'm on
ginger
it.
tea.
I'm on
There
it.
you go.
I'll do it. I'll get on afterwards. Yeah. So like folks who are watching us, you can see that over Meryl's left shoulder. You got your little potted Christmas tree, which we'll come to in a second. So we are recording this about a week before Christmas Day, 2024. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a really intensive week. It was so good, but it kind of was reflective of like how intense teaching 5 periods a day every day was like because on the Monday I was like trying to squish everything I possibly could in admin wise because on the Tuesday, first thing in the morning, I went to a school where we had 3 sustainability leads who have just put their Federation of Schools climate action plan together, which is great with the help of Let's Go Zero, which was amazing. And then they were like, "Oh, Kip, like, can you come by because they came to like the launch event that we did in September, and they said like we want you to help us with the priorities, and also we like your idea, and we truly believe as well that climate change is a safeguarding issue. So can you please work with us to kind of like see if we can tie up our safeguarding policy with our climate action plan?" So we spent the morning doing that, and that was amazing. There was those teachers. I'm gonna give them a shout out because they were so amazing. So you got Sarah, Danielle, and Katie from the Halcyon Federation in Norfolk, which covers Drake Infant School, Little Pirates Nursery,
Oh,
and
little
Whipplewood
pirates
Primary in
nursery.
Norfolk. I know it's great, isn't it? So yeah, so they were amazing. So, but that I did en route to Kiel University because we were all meeting up in Kiel University as all of us regional hub managers, which is why I mentioned like getting to hug Al, which was amazing. And then we did, we didn't just work and brainstorm and do all those things because they're such amazing, talented people. But of course, we don't get to see each other in person that often. So we had two Christmas meals. um, one after the other, and then of course, then getting back from Kiel, I took my EV, so trying to get through. And then I had an event in East Norfolk Sixth Form College in Galston, just on the Norfolk coast. It was a whole conference involving 4 schools, a total of 100 kids, hosted by Sixth Form College. So we had an exhibit there as well. But I also delivered for some of the teachers from each school about climate action plans and safeguard and all that kind of stuff. So of course, at the end of that week, I was wiped. I was wiped. Yeah, and then and I have to give love to my wife because she dealt with the kids all weekend because I mostly slept that weekend.
Recover it. It's really important. Well-being and time to rest.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely worth looking after ourselves because it's exhausting. And definitely when I was getting to the point of, do I stay in the classroom or do I just do climate education? I knew I couldn't do both. I just didn't have enough energy to do both well.
Yeah.
So I yes, having a long-term teaching career and the pension and the sick pay is always a bonus, but actually, I was having fun doing all of the other stuff that I do. So yeah, I had to choose, and I chose having fun doing climate education because I'm thoroughly enjoying my life. I get to choose who I work with and what I do and how I do it. And as a teacher, I think with teachers nowadays, they're losing a lot of their autonomy. It's really difficult to be an autonomous teacher, especially teaching to the test in terms of exams. I know that's not the intention, but it's how it works out, whether it's for SATs or whether it's for GCSEs or A levels. And so having that autonomy to choose how we do things is amazing. And I'm sure as one of the hub lead for climate ambassadors, you can choose where people go, how people do it, which people go where, what projects you want to be involved with. But little pirate, what are they called? The pirates.
I think something like Little Pirates Nursery or something like that. Yeah. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
Can you imagine? That's the sort of kids we want to get going. We want to get these little, active, dynamic kids.
Can you imagine that, like giving a mock-up pirate ship and they've got the Jolly Roger with the climate stripes behind it? That'd be amazing.
Get in. And there are some.
I think we're onto something.
There are so many schools already doing incredible work on climate, and the fact that they're doing it when there's the DFE strategy and that's been going for a couple of years, and it mentions creating agents of change, but without having it embedded in the curriculum, it's really difficult to squeeze it in. And I know there's so many teachers, and shout out to all of them for Christmas because they deserve a break. They've been putting their heart and souls into making sure their children in their schools have that education, despite the fact that fighting against the system and often fighting even against their own head teachers to a certain degree, because that leadership still isn't in a lot of schools. Shout out to those. Well done, everybody who's doing work on environmental education when it's not really part of your job.
Yeah, and can I say, actually, because I never got to speak to any of them directly and for that, but for the senior leadership team of the Housing Federation, so who cover those 3 settings, can I just say to you, please, on behalf of someone who's, between us, we've got almost 30 years of teaching experience. Thank you so much because SLT can be such powerful enablers and can really empower their staff. And the fact that you gave those 3 members of staff the whole day to work on their climate action plan, and you've given them the agency to do that, the motivation, the determination to do well by not just the school, but by their young people was palpable. It was amazing. So I really hope you make it sustainable, folks, and it's not a one-off. I don't get the sense it's going to be. They were singing your praises, that they felt that you were really supportive of SLT. And folks, we are all of us regional hub managers are planning to have case studies and examples of good practice out there, right? So please keep an eye out for them. I'll do the same with these 3.
I'm going to put a name drop in here because he lives right near me. A guy called David Dixon. He's written a book called Leadership for Sustainability, Saving the Planet One School at a Time. And it's for SLT to understand what needs to be done in their schools. He's a lovely guy. You can get him in to do CPD and stuff as well. But literally, he was a leader. He did some amazing things. He wanted to share, some of the ways that you can get leadership right for the school, for, and let's face it, we're probably looking, with this new government in and doing amazing things on the, looking at the curriculum in so much detail, it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be a bigger part for environmental education, climate, nature, sustainability education in the coming years. So get ahead of the game would be my suggestion.
So I'm gonna, Meryl and I'm gonna, just a talking shop request here. Then you put me in contact with that person then, because I think
yes,
could help.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway,
he'd be an amazing person to talk to.
Yeah, I think we might be able to move and shake with the whole safeguarding message. So you talked. I just want to kind of pivot. We'll come back to climate ambassadors in a minute, because I know that me and you can talk about that kind of stuff the whole time. But I just want to pivot back to you and regards to where you are, your location. So I love what you put in the location field on the form. You said here's my postcode, brackets, in a field in Northumberland. So I've just this is amazing. So I've plugged in your postcode into maps, and I was like, yeah, I'm scrolling right. Okay, how many levels do I have to scroll out before I see any? Oh my goodness, there's Nuke. Right. Okay. So
yeah, live in a field in Northumberland.
So Kilda Water and Forest Park, the reservoir, comes into view at the same time Newcastle upon. You're dead in the middle between that reservoir.
I know. I live in such a beautiful area. I'm so fortunate. So I'm from East London. I grew up surrounded by tower blocks in East London, and I didn't really realise that I was a country girl until I got, by accident. I didn't do very well in my A levels, and by accident I ended up on a geology degree. And so I ended up doing this geology degree, and I was stuck in like North Wales for 6 weeks doing a mapping project, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I realised I was totally grounded, in terms of that sort of connection to earth. I became one of the, I became part of the mountains because I was there for 6 weeks, and I realised that I'm an outdoor person. So definitely didn't want to be staying in London for that much longer. And I did, travelled around a bit and did a few things. But I met my husband when I was just 19 or whatever, my husband to be. And he said, I said, oh, where are you from? And he was like, oh, I'm from up north. And I was like, oh, whereabouts? And he was like, oh, no, Mark town, really, not really going back there. I was like, what's it called? And he said, Hexham, which is where we live near. And he was like, I'm not going back though. And I was like, oh, all right. And then anyway, two kids later, and he gets headhunted for a job. And it was like, oh, where's the job? It could have been anywhere in the world, literally could have been America, China, whatever. And they went, Gateshead, Team Valley. He was like, oh my God, I'm going home. So yes, we live in Northumberland, and I could not be happier. We've got lovely spaces to walk our very old dog. And I never thought I'd have this much green space around me. When we first bought this place, we just wanted a bit of a small holding, and it came with an extra field. So we looked at it and went, oh, that'd be really good for a little festival. Never thinking we'd do a little festival in our field. Started growing stuff. We grow about 50% of our fruit and veg, got solar panels on the roof, got a ground source heat pump. We've had chickens. We don't have chickens at the moment, but probably getting some more, just having a bit of work done out there. So we'll get the chickens back eventually. We've got orchards, apple orchards, got something like 50 different types of apple tree now. We've planted 1,000 trees. But anyway, looking at the field, I was like, when I was ill, when I had cancer, I was like, oh, I want a party before I die, thinking I was not going to make it. Typical pessimist. So my husband's like, yeah, sweetheart, whatever, and so I organised a party for 250 people, and we had like 10 live acts, and it went on for 3 days, and people camped in our field. So it's now the camping field for our little festival. We've raised about nearly 30 grand for charity over the last seven festivals. So that's a little bit of philanthropy, I suppose, but it's just an excuse to get all our friends and family together and have a bit of party, listen to some great music, and then give away some of the money that we've raised. So good fun. But I have a field, literally. Who knew? Who'd have guessed when I was a kid in East London, in Hackney?
Oh, you're living my dream,
the best life.
Well, so my wife and I have this kind of pipe dream that when the kids have fledged the nest, we can't kind of want to kind of build like little tiny, like off-grid tiny house, on a plot of land, So it's get rid of this thing.
Yeah, no, I know.
Down here in the south, yeah,
I know. You can't get them. You can't get them. You have to move out of the south. I'm afraid, Norfolk way. But it took a while to find the right place. But we're so pleased we have, because I couldn't imagine. I'm definitely a little country mouse, not a city mouse.
Well, I'll tell you what, Meryl. So we have some very close friends in Pennycook in Scotland, so in the borders, and like I'm just looked at the map of where you are, and like we you know we
Yeah,
have,
I'm
because we've
north.
got kids,
Yeah,
we have to stop, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, we have to
I'm,
stop. So
I'm
I'm
north of
thinking
Hadrian's Wall already, so I'm kind of
you're
hoping
north
if
of
they ever, yeah. So if they
oh
ever
yeah,
put
so you are, yeah.
if they ever put a border in as a hard border between Scotland and England, I was kind of hoping they'd use Hadrian's Wall because it's just a nice little border, you know. And then I'm in Scotland already, but I'm actually still in Northumberland at the moment.
Yeah. But we could pop by on our way to our friends.
No, definitely come and see us.
I mean, you're literally on the way.
Yes. Yeah, no,
Oh.
totally. Especially if you go up the A68. Yeah. Right.
Because I think we stayed in Hexham. I think when you said Hexham, yeah, we did. Yeah, so on the way back, on the way back from Scotland when we were visiting our friends, we left kind of like early afternoon, and then we stayed in Hexham. We did.
Yeah,
we stayed in Hexham for the night.
So it's one of the happiest. It's one of the happiest towns. For the last 3 or 4 years, it's been in the top 5 happiest towns in the UK. It's a lovely little place. So yeah, we're very happy.
Yeah, I've just zoomed in, and I can and there's where I charge the car for the night, next to the leisure centre.
I used to teach in Corbridge Middle School, and middle schools are fantastic too, because then you get the joy of the older primary kids, but not the hassle of GCSEs and A levels. So year 5 to year 8, it's a really lovely age group. That's why I had so much freedom, so much autonomy as a teacher, because I was just teaching science and having fun and doing environmental work. Yeah,
that's amazing. So let's play on that a little bit then. So you said you're a London gal, and I'm an Essex gal, so I'm from South Essex, North London, so Arlo and Epping area and all that kind of lot.
Yep.
So I've not moved so far north as you have, in Norfolk, but I've definitely enjoyed and feel more at home in kind of like more rural East Anglia than urban East Anglia. So the question I always like to ask people, Meryl, is your identity. Then you've clearly kind of like visualized it for us already based on where you live and what you've set up there. But okay, so is there any part of your identity, you're kind of like your Londoner identity, any of that urban spirit at all that has stuck with you, and how has it manifested where you are now? I mean, are you kind of like your identity now is in spite of kind of like your urban background, or have you brought some of that with you? How has it manifested? How has it developed?
I don't. It's difficult, isn't it? I like going to visit cities, and I quite often pop down to London for work or for to see family and things, but. And I don't fly anymore, so it's not like I can even do city breaks very easily. I just don't feel the need. To be honest, I haven't even gone abroad in the last 5 years. I was thinking about maybe going to Ireland next summer, which would be quite an adventure nowadays because I don't travel much. But if you look down my corridor in my hall, I've got things like from a previous trip 30 odd years ago. We've got a screen print of a New York sewer lid, that way back when, like the 90s. So, and it's in multicolours and stuff. So I walk down my corridor in my house and I'm reminded of New York or another city that I've been to, or, and it's that, I might never go to Budapest or, there's lots and lots of cities I've never visited. But I don't feel the need because now, unfortunately, you've still got the historical centres, which are really important. But you go to a lot of these cities and they're sort of like identikit cities. They've got the same, McDonald's, you've got this, you've got that. It's just like, unless you actually, it's like, actually, I can see that down in Hexham nowadays. So, I think when I go to London, there's definitely a sense of there is a part of home. I love walking around and just being, walking the streets and getting from A to B without going on the London Underground and stuff, and just, walking for an hour or two. And I like looking, because I'm a geologist at heart, I like looking at the stone that things are made out of. Yeah. If I go down Hexham, it's just everything's made of sandstone pretty much. Nice biscuit coloured sandstone. But if I go to London, you get all of the different, diversity. And I think my favourite city would probably be Rome. I just think the history and everything there is amazing. So, I like the historical nature of cities, how they've developed, how they came to be. And quite often that's linked to geography and then the geology of the stone that's been used. But do I have a passion to move back there? No, it's that sort of like, it's part of my psyche, but it's not somewhere where I dream to be. I can't imagine now living in a city again. I think I'd find it a bit too busy, a bit too, I love immersing myself in nature, and so I come out here, and we still get, we don't have as many bees and butterflies and pollinators and birds as we used to, but I feed the birds, and I just, I can hear the bird song, and you don't get it so much in big cities, and I think I'd really miss that. So I'm happy where I am, which is a very lovely thing to say.
Yeah. We allow sparrows to nest in our roof because I love that bird song, especially when the chicks hatch, and then you've got all you can hear is chirping in the under the roof tiles in the morning. I love that.
In our roof we get for just a couple of months of the year, we get a maternal colony of soprano pipistrelle bats, and you can see them leaving out one of the holes. And you can't hear them particularly, except when you're actually standing right near them when they're coming out to hunt. But so no, we live somewhere really quite special, and biodiversity in the UK is we know it's 70% down. We don't see as many, wherever you are, you don't see as many hedgehogs or anything as we used to. This used to be an area for red squirrels. We now get grey squirrels, but I'm looking at the grey squirrel going, well, it's still quite cute, and at least it's some biodiversity. So I think you just have to embrace what you can. But we are trying. We've seen, since we've planted 1,000 trees, and they're growing now. They're not just saplings. They're quite reasonable sized trees, and we're seeing biodiversity, definitely increase in numbers. Oh, there's me.
Yeah. So what I've done, folks. So the folks that are listening. So what I've done, I've just put up a picture on the screen from Meryl's LinkedIn that you posted. With Elle, actually, there's Elle, everybody there on the left hand side, and so you're holding up a giant banner where it's got the climate stripes on the top of it, going from the blues through to the red and the dark red, but at the bottom you've got those biodiversity stripes. So for the people who, so you were just talking about the biodiversity change and things like that. So just if you take us through what those stripes show us, goes from green to grey, and what that means for us.
So the Ministry of Eco-Education gave us all a banner so we could take it on these events. And I did a classic one with the recent DFE curriculum review roadshow, and I said, I have some evidence I want to show you, and I showed them the banner, and got a round of applause as such. So the warming stripes people are familiar with, but Miles Richardson created the biodiversity stripes, and really we have lost about 70% of our biodiversity, and it's not slowing down particularly. There's some really good wins, NEP farm and everything are doing some great things on small local areas, and we've got our own little biodiversity project here. But the greens down to the yellows down to now grey, and it's that shifting baseline. Children today will see a ladybird and go, oh, there's a ladybird. Well, 55 years ago when I was growing up, even in East London, I could see, I'd see thousands of ladybirds in a day, and you just, the kids today.
And I remember when I was a kid, I couldn't move, I had to keep shooting them out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. There was loads and loads of them in the 70s, sort of mid 70s. There was a plague of ladybirds, almost, and they're a really important part of biodiversity because you have, there's the aphids that would maybe, damage crops and damage other flowering plants. So that loss of biodiversity, in terms of food security, in terms of joy found, when we had lockdown in COVID, people were like, oh, I went out and I could actually, see a bee, and it was amazing. And it was that time that we had to spend in nature. Another book I'll recommend after my first one is a book called Earthwards by Catherine Burke, for teachers, to try and reconnect children to Earth, to our planet, because, biodiversity and nature are such a big part of who we should be. It's not really necessarily a part of who we are at the moment. There's too much distractions, through consumerism, through electronics, through social media, and I think actually that connection to Earth is vital for our well-being. People go, even given the climate crisis and biodiversity crisis, people say to me, "Oh, why are you so happy? How can you be so happy?" Because you know that all of this stuff that's really bad. It's like, one, I'm taking action to try and make it different, and two,
Yeah.
I'm connected to Earth. I spend a lot of time outside, and it brings me that
Yeah.
it just lifts that weight. And so, get outside, even if it's winter. It doesn't matter. If it's raining, it doesn't really matter. Just go outside, go and explore your local area. Have those little mini adventures. Alistair Humphreys did that book about mini adventures, micro adventures, I think it was called, and it was about just explore your area, find those green spaces, go and climb the tallest hill in your, go and find the local river, and you can really have an adventure on your doorstep without costing the earth in terms of climate impact or travel.
Yeah, and I'm so fortunate to have spoken to many people on this podcast, including a few folks of Indigenous heritage who speak the same thing about this importance of connection to the land, and it's something that I've talked about a lot when I've delivered teacher training and done talks and done interviews about this. The fact that we're having a mental health crisis because what would be so interesting? I mean, it'd probably be very, very difficult to do it empirically, to do it using data, but maybe we could do it visually to represent it. But can you imagine you could actually have almost like a mental health stripes? Like, wouldn't it be amazing to see that if that was ever quantifiable?
Or
Because
the time in nature stripes, from being loads and loads of color over here to now just being grey because no one spends enough time. Yeah.
And then so that
very well linked.
Exactly, because as humans, the way that we've evolved and we've developed in tandem with the land, as stewards of the land, we've ripped ourselves apart from that, and we've created a virtual environment for us. I mean, what we're doing right now is amazing because we are able to talk to each other and share to each other and things like this. But so much, but rather than just communicating and educating people like this, which I think is a good, strong, empowering use of technology.
While they're sitting commuting and listening to a podcast.
Yeah, but when we've enveloped all parts of our socialization and our kind of experience of life into a virtual environment, I don't think it's any surprise that mental health has taken a nosedive, and it's almost like, I mean, this is how I feel, right? But I kind of feel like we're all closing ourselves into this kind of virtual environment because we're going through like collective denial about what is happening out of that window, and that it's fine. It doesn't matter that that's all happening because I've got all this. And that is so sad. And I'm battling with my children on this as well. My children are geographers' kids, right? They share my passion for the environment. They're very good. They go to forest school and stuff like that. But it is so hard to keep them away from, well, they want to spend a couple of hours on Minecraft. They want to spend time online with their friends. And I can't deny them that because that's
their friends are, and things,
But how do I keep them connected to the real world and nature?
And then you've got what's happening in Australia, and they're saying under 16s shouldn't have smartphones and shouldn't be able to access social media, and that's very well and good. But those children who don't have support networks in their immediate family, that's their support network. So you could be making them even more isolated. So I don't know what
we're an international family. We're an international family, so we can't just disconnect because we'd lose connection with most of our family in the United States, for example. So this picture I want to put up now, and so I want you to describe this to people listening. This is a lovely picture, and which you did with the Royal Horticultural Society for a training video. So describe to us what's going on here, and because I think this is a fantastic kind of demonstration of how you say that you're emotionally attached to the land and the environment, and kind of like you like to share how you're working with it. So tell us what's going on in this picture and what it means.
So I originally started having a relationship with the RHS in 2019. We signed up as one of the school gardening, sort of like on that program, and at school. And we developed over a couple of years, from 2017 to 2019. We developed a really lovely little working garden at school, wildlife garden, an allotment area. We built a little sensory garden in the local village, and it was a lovely experience. Anyway, somebody nominated me to be RHS School Gardener of the Year. So I was like very honoured, and was invited to Wisley for this amazing event. And I'm really outspoken. I know, I do recognise that. Anyway, so they made me do a little video about our journey. So the kids were at school were talking about the SDGs. SDG 1 is no poverty. SDG 2, zero hunger. And so we talked about school gardening with these sustainable development goals and did this lovely little video. Anyway, the last scene of this video was me standing up near our sensory garden that we'd built, which had been where old allotments were, but they'd created a building, new housing estate. And so it's just a green lawn. So we've got this little sensory garden for the pollinators. And anyway, I stood there with my climate action, SDG 13 T-shirt on, and I went, this is one of the problems. We're creating these, new estates. We're taking out allotments, and we're just putting in green lawns and maybe a tree, And so we need to start thinking about food resilience. We're in a climate emergency. This is way back in 2019. Anyway, so I didn't win School Gardener of the Year. I think I was a little bit outspoken for the RHS, bless their cotton socks, but they are they are quite concerned now, and they are putting much more climate resources out there. And so because that video was they'd been using it in training. I was like, oh my goodness, it was terribly, it was just filmed on my phone and things. It wasn't exactly professional, but they said, oh, Meryl, can we come back and film you? I said, I'm not in school anymore. So they said, oh no, we'll film you in your garden. So my husband and I have a small holding, so we grow probably, as I say, about 50% of our fruit and veg. So I'm sitting here, so the picture that I posted on LinkedIn was with Catherine from the RHS who'd come to film me, and I'm squatting down next to loads of leeks because we do like a leek.
Yes.
I've got some Welsh blood, so we have leek and potato bacon, leek and potato soup and things. I'm squatting down, just talking about, why gardening is important. And I think for me, we need to get climate in education. There's no question about it. There's not enough. And Becky Francis, who's been doing the curriculum review, said, oh, there's sustainability already in the curriculum. And I didn't have the guts, after standing up and dropping my banner, I didn't have the guts to say where's sustainability, because I'm not familiar with where sustainability is really sitting, other than recycled plastic a little bit. Anyway,
yeah.
So I'm sorry, I am so outspoken. But the thing is, by teaching gardening in schools, and not even just in 1 year of primary, embedding it through, getting them to have those skills. We know we're facing a food crisis in this country. We know that we're not resilient and sufficient in food. We know that our crops were 20% down last year, and that's going to start hitting our food supplies. And then, we're a wealthy enough country comparatively to some, so we can buy food in, but then that leaves other people going hungry. So we need to consider what we're doing. We need to consider food waste, but growing food in particular, that's skill. I've got a lovely story. One of my first articles I ever wrote was about school gardening, because I just think it's amazing. It's watching the kids grow through being outside, the hands in the soil, which releases endorphins, that teamwork, the using tools, the responsibility for growing things. Anyway, so one of the first things we did, you grow radish, because radish are really easy. Now, they're not necessarily the greatest thing to eat sometimes, because they're a bit spicy for kids, but they are really easy to grow. So we'd grown these radish. And the kids had planted the seeds, nurtured the seeds, watered picked them out, thinned them through. And eventually I said, oh, it's only about 5 or 6 weeks. And I said, oh, those radish are now time to pick those. Ooh. So a little pupil, I said, go and pick one of those radishes. And I said, grab it from the base and then pull. And so he grabbed it from the base and pulled. And there's about 12 kids stood around us, and they all went quiet. I was like, what's going on? Is there something wrong? There's a really lovely little white ping pong ball radish. It was amazing, almost perfect. And he went, it's magic, miss. And it was like, no, it's a radish. But that's how far away we are.
Yes, they've been disconnected.
Those moments, yeah,
right.
Those moments.
Where does radishes come from? The supermarket? No, they don't.
Yeah. No, but what's chicken come from that we eat, tons of every year, and is polluting all our waterways? We need to understand about food. Food needs to be an integral part, its own topic almost, in terms of ensuring our resilience, ensuring survival. Safeguarding young people in a way, because if they're hungry, they're not going to do well. But by growing your own food, you don't even need much land. You know, our actual gardening plot is quite small. No, I do love being out there. My husband does an awful lot of the work. I'm just, you know, I don't do it all by myself. That's for certain. Those leeks are really mostly his. But he's, yeah, I think it's about teamwork. And again, you know, even in school, whether you're at home, you know, it's a lovely thing to do together because it gives you time away from screens, away from, you know, what's going on in the big wide world.
Right. So I don't know. I'm going to go for a listener question now. So folks, please submit your questions to guests using the hashtag GeogQ over a brew, right? Please, because make sure that you include that hashtag in your question. Then I'll be able to find it on social media. LinkedIn or Blue Sky or Facebook works best, please. GeogQ over a brew. So I've got one from the wonderful Dr. David Priest, geography teacher and friend of mine, who has co-hosted with me for some of the snippets that we've done in the past. So he's asked here, what is the one thing about your specialist or favorite area that you wish everybody knew? Like, if you had a magic wand and you could go, everyone suddenly knew that, what would it be? The one thing?
If I had to say one, I'd probably say gardening after just having a chat with it, because it's just fresh in my head there. But I'd actually say, for me, that what we all need to be doing, what we all need to understand, is that we can take climate action. And so I'd like everybody to understand that it's not just individual action, it's collective action, that as a society we can work together. There's 8 billion people on this planet. And then if we all drive, you know, collective action, that will lead to system change. So that, you know, we know that young people are feeling sad, where they're feeling eco-anxiety. But overall, Caroline Hickman, psychologist, said they're actually feeling sad. They've been so let down. So as an adult in the room right now, that I want everybody to understand that we can take climate action. We can make the situation better than it is at the moment, in terms of the predictions, because everything, you know, it's all we can save. Every fraction of a degree matters. So, you know, and if that means that, you know, the school geography trip doesn't actually go to Iceland, it goes to Scotland because it's got a smaller environmental footprint, even if it costs the same in terms of finance, then that's taking action. It's making those decisions. They're hard decisions, you know. Then it's not eating a steak for, you know, for every Saturday night. It's, you know, maybe having something, you know, maybe just making that once a month. But it's about all we can do. So in terms of, I would say my speciality is climate education nowadays, rather than, I was trained as a geologist. I was became a secondary science chemistry teacher. But my speciality, you know, my husband says I bang on about climate education all of the time, but it's not about teaching people about the causes and consequences.
Nope.
You know, that's basic information. It's about climate action. You know, I've marched in the street. I was on the streets in COP26. And one of the things that taught me that, and activism is one of those things that needs to be considered as part of taking climate action. You know, obviously we don't want people to get arrested, and the law here is very unfair at the moment with the farmers on the street.
In fact, the UK, I think it's the UK and the Australia are two countries in the entire world who are strictest
one of the worst places to
one of the worst.
And terrifying as that is, you know, it's real Big Brother territory. But you know, and it's not fair because other people are taking to the streets, like the farmers, and I feel for the farmers in many ways. Although the tax issues are beyond the scope of this conversation, but you know, climate activists need to be heard, and they do drive change. There was a recent study that said after Just Stop Oil protests, more people signed up to Friends of the Earth. You know, they didn't want to join Just Stop Oil because not everybody wants to get arrested. But I've got, you know, my little story for this, why climate action and climate activism is important. Is that when I went up to COP26 in Glasgow, I was going with the sole purpose to march in the streets, joining 100,000 other people, demanding that the people around those tables, the negotiators, were taking action, you know, to protect everybody, global citizens. And I went in. I actually got in to one of the zones. Can't remember if it was blue or green. The one that was just for the, you know, for members of you know. Not the important one, the other one. Anyways, because the UK,
zone,
I think we actually met through the UK SSN. So the green zone. Anyway, so I was invited by Jess to go in to see some of the students in the green zone. So I was there. Anyway, it was a hilarious story. There was some other teachers there that can recount why it was hilarious in some ways. Anyway, so met the students. It was an amazing day. Felt really empowered by being on the street with all those people calling for the same thing. You know, you are not alone if you want to change what's going on in the world. You're very, it's common sense, because if we carry on the way we are with the business as usual, it's not ending up in a good place. So we do need to change. So anyway, so but on the way back from the green zone, on the little shuttle bus to the station, I sat next to a gentleman. And I was wearing, it was still just because it was just when we were still expected to mask up and things for COVID. And I was wearing Ed Hawkins warming stripes as a mask, you know, because it's got a climate related, you know, climate
I got one of those,
impact of its own. Yeah, because it's a talking point, isn't it? So anyway, and I sat next to this gentleman, and he said, "Oh, I like your mask." And I was like, "Oh, thank you very much." He was like, "Where's it from?" And I said, "Oh, it's Ed Hawkins warming stripes." And he said, "No, which country or which area is it from?" I said, "Oh, I think it's probably just the global one." You know. So anyway, started chatting. Anyway, he was an American. And I said, "Oh, you know, what are you, you know, what have you been doing? You're one of the negotiators in COP." And he was like, "Yes, I am." And he was like, "I've come over here from the States. It's my 15th COP, and I'm sitting around the table." And I was like, "Oh, you know, I've been marching in the street. It's been amazing, you know, total bubbly." And he was like, "Oh, I wish I had been." And I said, "Oh, why?" He said, "This is my 15th COP, and I don't think we're getting it. I think COP's really important as a process, because it at least gets people around the table. I would not say we need to abandon them, but, you know, like Greta said a couple of years ago, it's blah, 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 because they're just talking about the same things. Meanwhile, sea levels are rising, storms are getting worse, more people are dying, food security is getting worse. And so, although we've got these processes, and as I say, at least it's a chance to get discussions going and reports out. You know, if the climate negotiators themselves are saying we need activists on the streets, then for me that's real. You know, that just adds, you know, more impetus to really call it out. So I don't want to get arrested. I'm a lady of a certain age that sorry, Greg Wallace, middle class woman of a certain age, was it? Horrible term. But you know, I think you know, I need to do as much as I can. So my line that I walk is by being outspoken, but hopefully not getting arrested. I mean, that's you know, because I don't, you know, I'm happy sitting in the street if I thought it was making change, but I'm not going to sit in the street if it's going to get me carted off to prison. So yeah, I think that one thing I'd want to tell everybody is that climate action will make a difference. Every fraction of a degree matters, and as part of that, we need to be more activist about it. And however we do that, whether that's putting pressure on our MPs, putting pressure on businesses, you know, together, collectively, our little individual impacts make a difference.
Well, there you go. And I'm in full. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, it's a great question, and yeah, I'm a full agreement with all that. I mean, it's like people say to me, "Kit, why don't you go out on these marches and stuff like that?" It's just because I am an activist. I'm doing what I'm doing through my expertise and my, you know, education and stuff like that. So
yeah.
So right, try and do my best. We're going to finish. We've been. This has been such an amazing. I can't believe we've been going for almost 50 minutes. It's amazing. It just goes to show how much I've enjoyed this chat. Right, there's two things we need to do now. We're gonna spill the beans now, Meryl. So here I am. Spilling the beans, because I want you to tell the folks that there's something people might not know about you, is that you're actually a co-founder of a charity funding micro music festival, which is now in its 8th year.
So that's it. That's
what is a micro music festival? Is that it? Your field?
Yeah, my field. That's it. It's only about 300 people, but it's the best sort of festival. It's one of the things I got to do with the Ministry of Eco Education this year was actually I got invited to go to WOMAD to stand on stage with WOMAD with Dale Vince and Sylvia Knight from the Royal Meteorological Society.
Knight, yeah.
And literally I was on stage at WOMAD. It was like, get in. Amazing, because I love live music. I love it. So this music festival has been going now 8 years. We're doing it again next year. We've got our bands lined up, and for me, it's the distraction that I need from climate education, because life is tough. We know that there's such, you know, we're in serious issues as civilization. You know, even the UN are saying, you know, it's existential crisis. and we're still running around doing the same old stuff, most of us. But anyway, trying to do climate education all the time is exhausting. Running a festival is exhausting. It's a tiny little one. It's a 300 people max. But it's that distraction in life that brings me other purpose. And I think, you know, I ever since having cancer, I've had a real purpose in my life. 90% of it is climate education. Did I tell you about Melody Bird? So I so being me, climate education takes various forms. You can be in the classroom, you can be doing CPD for teachers. Anyway, so last year I was still in the classroom, and I like to write. I write lots and lots of articles. But so I came up with an idea, and I approached the Northeast Bylines, which is an online paper, citizen journalism. Yep. So the Byline Times Network. I write for the Northeast Bylines, and I've wrote them a couple of articles just as me. And I said, spoke to the editor, and I said, can I do a regular piece once a week for a year? And it's called Excerpts of a Diary on a Teacher of the Verge of Climate Breakdown. So it's quite a long title. But I'm a teacher, and it's on the verge of climate breakdown, and I'm trying to, handle everything that goes on in a classroom. So I had to do it as a parody, because although there are some very similar stories to things that I've experienced, it's definitely, she's called Melody Bird. She's got the same initials as me. But I didn't want to write it as me, because obviously you can't bring in stories that are true, and so there's a lot of parody in there in terms of it's embellished to a certain degree. But it's all about education. It's all about trying to get little bits out there that just say, this is what's going on in the world. It's an article. It's done in a parody style, so it's funny-ish. Talks about all sorts of things that kids shouldn't be doing probably in my classroom, and maybe did or maybe didn't. We never know. So I'm now on week 44, and I'm just writing for week 45. So I'm very nearly at the end of the year. It's 1,500 words a week. So I've written a book over the year. Oh, you're going to show me Melody Bird. There we go. So there we go. This last week was called Underground. And we're designing a bunker.
This is so cool.
So that's me. And now that I've left the classroom, I can, so that was all about COP 29. So I have a whole nother parody account. So somebody else who's doing climate education. So now I'm doubling up, Ty.
You are nuts, and I love it.
Kids scrolling through Melody Bird. There was the literacy one and the cops and robbers one is both good. But AI, I cover, cover all.
AI. The
That's II. You know II.
Of course, II. Yes, silly me. Yeah. The animal. Yeah.
We're all using AI, but it's got a huge environmental impact. And so I talk about, what
I did not know that. I'm going to have to bear that in mind. So it says here, a single AI image can use up to 0.3 kilowatt hours. So basically 300 watt hours, the same energy as using a small plasma TV. I did not know that. Because
it's another form of education. But for me, it's been hugely cathartic, because I've been able to just write. I've probably only got about 3 readers, but somebody on this week's, which was called Underground, somebody actually put on one of the I think it was on their Facebook page, an insightful read as ever, and I'm like, that's Melody.
That's amazing.
So
right, we're definitely putting that in the show notes,
I thought I'd give you something else, because we've spoken about the micro festival, my little festival, but I've given you Melody Bird as my secret identity.
You've definitely spilled the beans there. I think that counts.
I only have, I don't think anyone can sue me. It's done as a parody. So what's it matter?
Unfortunately, Meryl, we've come to time, and so we need to wrap up. So there's only one last task for you to do, and that is the thing where we link all of our guests together with we are all geographers. So that's where the previous guest has a go at a single word that the previous guest gave them. They have to talk about it for 30 seconds, and then they give you a word. So Michael Hardesty, who we had as the first guest for season 5 last week, from Engineering UK, climate ambassador in London, said he would like to give you the word to talk to 30 seconds. Wood. The word wood. WOOD.
When it comes to geography. I'd say that was not
Just any,
not too difficult.
no,
Well,
but
you get all.
anything you like for 30 seconds on the word wood. So when you're ready, Meryl, I will start the timer. You ready?
Yeah. So I can really hopefully link
Go.
wood to geography, because geography controls the soils and the landscapes, and different trees or different species of trees will be suited to different landscapes. So you get the arboreal forests, you get the palm trees and things in desert areas. But wood is hugely important in terms of civilization, because that gives us the materials we need to not only build houses, but create furniture, to provide habitats for the wildlife around us. There we go.
Yeah. I'm disappointed you didn't mention your little potted.
Oh no, my tree. So I should have mentioned my tree. That would have been a really good one. So my little tree, my naked little tree here is waiting for my daughter to come
Christmas
home.
tree.
But, apparently the lowest environmental impact tree you can get is a potted tree that then you plant out. This is the third one we'll have planted out. So they last about 4 or 5 years in the pot, and then you put them out. So last year's was just getting a bit too big and heavy, so that one's gone out, and now this is our next one.
Yep.
But it literally is the smallest little tree ever. It's a bit sad, really, but it's very cute, and it will look after it and nurture it, and then it will grow into a big tree outside. Anyway, so do I have to give you a word?
You do indeed, for our following guest, whoever that may be.
Okay,
so what are you going to go for?
about this one. I'm sorry, I'm going to give you paradox. Which is quite hard, because it's like that abstract concept that geography isn't, because geography is all about the tangible.
I'm not sure if the next person's going to forgive you or not. We'll see. We'll find out.
I quite like my wood one. That's better than I was expecting. Paradox.
I might have to give them like a little bit of.
No,
I might have to pause the recording and say, "How long would you like to think about this one? Do you want to go away for half an hour?"
There are ways you can use it, I'm sure, but yeah, it's not very tangible. I will give you that. I love game playing. I'm a total game player, so always up for a challenge.
I love it. Right then, Meryl. So for people who'd like to connect with you, obviously, because you're part of the Climate Ambassador Scheme, I've already described before that people can they can kind of request your support. They can go through the Northeast Climate Ambassadors Hub, things like that. But also they can connect with you because you are on social media. So how do people find you, either on LinkedIn or Blue Sky?
I'm definitely just search. I'm the only Meryl Batchelder that you'll ever find. I don't hide that. So I'm Meryl Batchelder on LinkedIn, at Meryl Batchelder on Twitter, but I'm probably leaving X at Christmas. I've said it's because actually I'm having so much fun on Blue Sky. So at Meryl Batchelder, Blue Sky is my preferred option now. And for me, I'd say X has given me an awful lot of connections with you, with all sorts of other people. I've got work out of it. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time there, but it's time to say that it's not suitable for me. I think it's good that some people are willing to be outspoken on it still, but it's just not nice. So I'm in Blue Sky, which is beautiful, and may the sky stay blue.
Blue skies. Well, folks, if people who are worried about leaving X because they've made all these connections and they've stored loads of resources or bookmarked loads of stuff, I understand it. I have written an article on my blog about how you can download and archive all that and move on. So I'll put a link down to that in the description, and then people can, if they choose to do so, make an informed decision to jump ship.
Yes, it's not leaving. Yeah. If you delete your account, then other people can then use your handle. So you should leave.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. So there are things to consider about it. But I've just said it's my New Year's resolution to not post on it.
I'll probably delete it and immediately re-sign up again after the 30 days with my handle, and then just leave it idle.
Yeah.
Right, folks. So there we go. What an hour that was. I mean, chats last as long as they last, right? They're organic. So some of them may be 35, some may be 45, some of them are an hour. I have had one that was an hour and 20 once, but we have to go, unfortunately, because we both got stuff to do. And I am recording a Climate Ambassador special. Yeah, I am recording the Climate Ambassador special episodes during my work day because it's for work. So they're like, maybe I should get on with actually doing some climate ambassador work. Meryl, you're a sweetheart and you're a superstar, and I'm such a privilege and a pleasure to have you as part of my friendship circle.
A huge
And
privilege to be invited on, Kit Marie. Honestly, I've giggled my way through it. It's been fab. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Season's greetings, everybody.
And and if you're listening to this, we hope you had a lovely season, or maybe you're listening to this and
it's going out. It's going out in a couple of weeks. It's going out in a couple of weeks. Sorry,
so
no,
in the new year.
So happy Christmas 2025.
Or 26, or 27, or 20,
26,
whenever you're listening to this.
If you ever go back and listen to it.
I can only hope.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.